Sophia Hartley stood at the window and handed all the prepared materials to the staff on the other side. Soon, the staff stamped the documents she handed over with the appropriate seal, and then took out another document and handed it to her. "Madam, the procedures will be completed in 15 days. Please wait patiently." Sophia Hartley nodded, turned and walked towards the door, but suddenly heard the staff whispering behind her. "Am I seeing things? Why would Mrs. Whittaker immigrate? Do she and Whittaker always argue? Even if they had a fight, they shouldn't have blown it out like this. After all, Mr. Whittaker is known for spoiling his wife. What could have made Mrs. Whittaker so resolute?" That is right. 5 years ago, Whittaker's wedding to his wife was a global sensation. Even someone like me who doesn't use the internet heard about it. 3 years ago, his wife was in a car accident, and the blood bank was running low. Whittaker disregarded everyone's objections and donated most of his own blood to save her from the jaws of death. A year ago, his wife disappeared for an hour, and Whittaker mobilized all media outlets to search for her worldwide. Now that she has just gone without telling him, he is going crazy. Listening to the whispers of the crowd, Sophia Hartley forced a smile, but the self-mockery in her eyes grew stronger.
Welcome to Airless's Romance Stories. Read the entire novel in one go. Message or comment to tell me what kind of story you'd like to read. Subscribe to the channel for daily updates. Airless reminds you, the story begins now.
Yes, everyone knows how much Ethan Whittaker loves her. It is well known in the industry that Ethan Whittaker, president of the Whittaker Group, is ruthless and decisive in the business world, and is also known for his indifferent and aloof personal life. He is not interested in women, and all women must keep 3 meters away from him. Until that party, he met Sophia Hartley. He fell in love with her at first sight and began to pursue her madly, showering her with luxury homes, cars, and jewelry. Fireworks lit up the sky for 3 days and 3 nights to proclaim his love. He even braved a blizzard and drove through 3 cities in the middle of the night, soaked to the bone, just because she mentioned wanting to eat chestnut cake that had been discontinued for many years. He brought her the still warm cake. What truly made her decide to accept him was the day her parents died in a car accident. Despite being far away in Lincheng, he was willing to give up a multi-billion-dollar cooperation to rush back. When he arrived in front of her, he was disheveled and his eyes were bloodshot, but he tenderly pulled her into his arms. "Hartley, don't worry, you still have me. I will always be by your side." Sophia Hartley felt her heart skip a beat as she looked into the depth of his eyes. He is the one. Sophia Hartley said this to herself. But this man, who only had her in his heart, couldn't resist temptation 3 months ago and started an affair with his good brother's sister, who was staying at their house. Traces of their lovemaking were everywhere in the villa, on the sofa, in the kitchen, and on the bed. Ethan Whittaker thought he had kept it a secret, but he forgot that nothing stays hidden forever. Upon learning the truth, she experienced pain, despair, and doubt. But ultimately, she painfully accepted the fact and decided to leave completely. The Whittaker family has a history of 3 generations serving in the military, which is why no one in the Whittaker family is allowed to travel abroad, including Ethan Whittaker. If she goes abroad, he will never find her in his life. Sophia Hartley put away her immigration documents, hailed a taxi, and headed towards Linjiangyuan. As soon as she stepped into Whittaker's villa, the scent of heather hit her nose. Hearing the commotion, the 2 people who were hanging decorations on the wall quickly turned around to look at her. Ethan Whittaker paused for a moment, then his eyes softened instantly as he walked over and took her hand. "Honey, why are you dressed so lightly? Aren't you cold? Didn't you say you were going out to meet your best friends? Why are you back so soon?" "I was preparing a surprise for you." Surprised, Sophia Hartley looked up at Ethan Whittaker, but her gaze involuntarily lingered on his neck. There were many hickeys there. Her eyelashes trembled slightly as she tried her best to suppress the stabbing pain in her heart. Seeing that she did not answer, Chloe Reynolds walked over with a charming smile. "Hartley Whittaker really loves you so much. He made such a big deal out of our first anniversary." Chloe Reynolds paused deliberately, then pointed to the overflowing pile of gifts on the sofa next to her. "Look, these are all gifts that Whittaker prepared for you." Sophia Hartley followed Chloe Reynolds' gaze, but first noticed the smudged water stain beneath the pile of gifts. In that instant, she felt as if she had been struck by lightning. The smell when she first entered the room and the traces now completely confirmed the fact she had just guessed. Love her. Ethan Whitaker's so-called love for her was preparing gifts for her while making love with Chloe Reynolds on the sofa, even to the point of getting a large area of the sofa wet. This is the most excruciating pain imaginable. Ethan Whitaker didn't notice Sophia Hartley's unusual behavior. He simply put the necklace he had prepared beforehand around her neck and said in a voice so gentle it was almost heart-melting, "Sweetie, happy anniversary. I've also prepared a candlelight dinner." Sophia Hartley trembled and shook her head. "I am not eating. I don't feel well." For her now, every second she spends with Ethan Whitaker is torture. She said from the beginning that she has emotional fastidiousness and cannot accept flaws. Either don't provoke her in the first place, or if you have, why betray her? When Ethan Whitaker heard her say she wasn't feeling well, he immediately became alarmed. First, she called several private doctors to examine her. After the examination, they found no problems, but she was still worried, so she sent her assistant to buy a lot of blood, nourishing supplements, and personally made her milk and coaxed her to sleep. After 4 or 5 hours of fussing, Sophia Hartley was finally coaxed to sleep. Late at night, Sophia Hartley was suddenly awakened by thirst and was about to go out to get some water. But the moment he opened the door, he froze on the spot. The door to the next room was wide open, and the bright moonlight shone through the window, illuminating 2 naked people entwined on the bed. "That necklace is worth hundreds of millions today, and I've been pestering you for so long, but you still haven't given it to me. Hartley didn't do anything, and you just eagerly handed her all the good stuff." Even after the passion subsided, Chloe Reynolds still had her legs wrapped around his waist, her words dripping with jealousy. Ethan Whitaker frowned, pulled himself up, sat on the edge of the bed, and lit a cigarette. "Don't you realize your place? I've said I only love Hartley. If you want to maintain this kind of relationship with me, you can only do it secretly. If she finds out, you know what will happen." Chloe Reynolds' face turned pale. She got up, naked, and hugged him from behind, saying aggrievedly, "I know you love Hartley, but I love you too. Can't I just be a little jealous?" Ethan Whitaker didn't say anything, but bent down and took out a necklace from the drawer that was the same style as Sophia Hartley's but a different color. "Don't look so aggrieved. I bought you one too, but you can only wear it in secret. If she finds out, our relationship will end immediately." Chloe Reynolds' face lit up with joy, and she quickly took the necklace and held it up against her neck, which was covered in bruises and hickeys. "Thank you, Whitaker. I knew you still cared about me. But are you really that afraid of Hartley leaving?" He said almost without hesitation, "Yes, I can't live without her. I would go crazy if she left." As soon as he finished speaking, he pressed her down on his body and began another round of assault. The bed creaked from his movements, and Chloe Reynolds' groans echoed in his ears. Sophia Hartley, standing some distance away, burst into tears. With red eyes, she looked at Ethan Whitaker's face in the wedding photo on the wall. "Ethan Whitaker, I'll be waiting for you to go crazy in 15 days. Chapter 2. Early in the morning, Sophia Hartley was awakened by a commotion. She pushed open the door and saw a weary woman clutching the man's clothes tightly in the garden of the neighboring villa, crying out in anguish. "You surnamed Jiang. I've loved you for 10 whole years, and I even had several children with you. When we got married, you promised you would love me forever. It has only been a few years, and you dare to keep a mistress behind my back." Although it was early morning, many people got up early to take a walk around the lake, and that is when they heard this shocking news. As more and more people gathered in the villa area, the man, who is also a prominent figure, immediately changed his expression and grabbed the woman, pulling her into the villa. "What are you doing? I've told you so many times there is no man in this world who doesn't cheat." Sophia Hartley was so engrossed in watching that a warm hand suddenly gently covered her ears from behind. "Hartley, don't listen to these foul words." Sophia Hartley didn't turn around but whispered, "Do you think all men change their minds?" Ethan Whitaker stiffened, turning the person in front of him to face him, his eyes full of seriousness. "I don't know about others, but I won't, Hartley. I will only love you in this life. You'll only love me in this lifetime. But a lifetime is so long." Ethan Whitaker gently embraced her, his warm breath brushing against her ear. "Life is so long, I only want you." Sophia Hartley finally laughed, but there was a hint of bitterness in her laughter. What if you betray me? If I ever betray you, may I be struck by lightning and die a horrible death." Hearing those words after learning the whole truth pierced her heart. Ethan Whitaker, you dare to make such a vicious oath. Aren't you afraid it will actually come true? Ethan Whitaker chuckled. No, because no one knows better than me how much I love you. If you don't believe me, I'll cut my heart out and show it to you. If you still don't believe me, I'll give you my whole life. Would I give her my whole life? Then why can't they even control their lower body? He still smelled of other women on his body, yet he spoke the sweetest words to her. Hartley, Whitaker, what are you doing? A voice suddenly rang out from the doorway, breaking the tranquility. The two turned around and saw Chloe Reynolds leaning against the doorway, wearing a strapless red dress. The next moment, Sophia Hartley clearly felt Ethan Whitaker stiffen slightly. The following second, he frowned. Isn't it the weekend? Where are you going dressed like that? The tone wasn't like a brother's concern for his sister. It sounded more like a husband asking his wife, who was about to go out, and was jealous that she looked so lovely. Sensing the jealousy in his tone, Chloe Reynolds smiled shyly. My company is having a social party, and I am going to look for a boyfriend, so I won't be back tonight. Upon hearing this, Ethan Whitaker's expression changed drastically, while Chloe Reynolds' smile widened. By the way, Hartley, what are your plans for today? Ethan Whitaker then came to his senses and grasped Sophia Hartley's hand, saying, Your sister, in-law and I are going back to the old house today. Chloe Reynolds smiled, said please, give my regards, and turned to leave. Half an hour later, Ethan Whitaker drove Sophia Hartley to the old house. Whitaker's parents didn't really like their daughter, in-law Sophia Hartley. They felt that their good son had been ruined by her, becoming struck, and almost losing his life. In addition, they hadn't had children after many years of marriage, so they always gave her the cold shoulder whenever they met. Ethan Whitaker felt sorry for him and always tried to have as little contact as possible. But this time, news came from the old house that Whitaker's mother was not feeling well recently. So he had no choice but to take Sophia Hartley back to see her. As soon as the two entered the door, Whitaker's parents, who had been chatting and laughing, suddenly turned cold. Ethan Whitaker realized they were giving Sophia Hartley a hard time and instantly lost his temper, saying, If you keep doing this, Hartley and I will never come back. Upon hearing this, Whitaker's father slammed his fist on the table in anger. Outrageous. What are you saying? You'd abandon your parents for a woman. Ethan Whitaker held Sophia Hartley's hand, refusing to back down. I've said that Hartley is the love of my life. I am afraid to even raise my voice to her for fear of disturbing her. Are you treating her like this, tearing your son's heart out? If this happens again, I'll pretend I don't have a home. Chapter 3. No one expected Ethan Whitaker to be so resolute, and the atmosphere in the living room suddenly became deathly silent. But Sophia Hartley felt no emotion whatsoever as she looked at the man who was so devoted to protecting her. Seeing that her son was serious, Whitaker's mother gave in. All right, let's eat first. At the dining table, apart from the clattering of bowls and chopsticks, the only other sound was Whitaker's mother's occasional cold snorts. Sophia Hartley's hand holding the chopsticks froze. She knew this was a sign that Whitaker's mother was about to lecture her. Sure enough, Whitaker's mother put down her chopsticks the next second. We don't care about anything else, but you have to give us a child, right? You can't just cut off our family line. Ethan Whitaker immediately put down his chopsticks. I've told you all, Hartley is afraid of pain. I won't let her endure level 10 pain for me. I'd rather be childless for the rest of my life. Upon hearing this, Whitaker's parents could no longer eat. Just as the group was about to start arguing again, Sophia Hartley suddenly spoke up. In 2 weeks, Dad, Mom, in 2 weeks you will have a grandson. Upon hearing this, everyone looked at her in surprise. Hartley, Ethan Whitaker grabbed her hand. Didn't we agree not to have children? You don't have to suffer for my sake. Sophia Hartley looked at his righteous and indignant demeanor and slightly curled her lips. She said they would have grandchildren, but didn't say they were her children. She went abroad 2 weeks later. Since he liked Chloe Reynolds so much and slept with her so many times every day, it was only natural for him to have her give birth. So she smiled and said, This is the elder's wish, and it should be fulfilled. Looking at her sensible appearance, Ethan Whitaker suddenly felt a little uneasy. She was unusually mature for her age. Whitaker's parents' expressions then turned from anger to smiles. That is more like it. Ethan Whitaker had a bad feeling and was about to ask more questions when his phone suddenly vibrated. He glanced at it and his expression changed slightly. Sophia Hartley was sitting nearby and spotted it immediately. It was sent by Chloe Reynolds. "Whitaker, a guy has a crush on me and wants my contact information. Should I give it to him or not?" She counted down in her mind, 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Finally, at the 3rd second, Ethan Whitaker stood up. "Sorry, Hartley, I have to go to the company first. You can eat here and I'll come pick you up when I am done." Without waiting for Sophia Hartley's reply, he hurriedly left without even taking his coat. Once Ethan Whitaker left, Whitaker's parents immediately stopped holding back and started berating her relentlessly. "Look at you, you've been married into this family for so many years, and you still can't conceive. Aren't you ashamed of yourself? Your family is humble, and your parents are both dead. If it weren't for Whitaker's affection, do you think you could have become Mrs. Whitaker? Marrying you is the worst luck imaginable. Why are your eyes red? Don't even think about telling Whitaker later. Every daughter-in-law gets scolded. My son is so busy. Don't even think about bothering him with such a small matter." Sophia Hartley was scolded for a full 5 hours from morning to afternoon. Ethan Whitaker finally returned to pick her up in the evening. As the car drove smoothly home, Sophia Hartley suddenly asked, "Have you finished with everything at your company?" Ethan Whitaker paused for a moment, then said gently, "It is all done." As he said this, he tapped the steering wheel with his index finger. That is an action he does unintentionally when he is in a good mood. Perhaps noticing her prolonged silence, Ethan Whitaker belatedly asked, "After I left, did Mom and Dad give you any trouble?" Sophia Hartley was about to speak when she suddenly noticed a pair of torn polka-dot stockings under the passenger seat. She knew he left to go see Chloe Reynolds, but she never expected that they would actually in the car. They had been married for 5 years, and she had always been very conservative when it came to intimacy. She was afraid he would find her boring, so she blushed and asked him if he needed to make any changes. He smiled and hugged her tightly, kissing her again and again. "My darling, I only have feelings for you. Even if you were wearing tattered beggar clothes, my heart would still flutter. You don't have to force yourself to do things you don't like for me. The person who loves you will naturally fall for you." But the man who was so devoted to her back then was secretly having such a wild affair with another woman. Sophia Hartley's eyes reddened. "What do you think?" Ethan Whitaker was unaware that his affair with Chloe Reynolds was already exposed to her, and assumed she was crying because she had been wronged by her parents. He quickly slammed on the brakes, hugged her tightly, and gently comforted her. "I am sorry, Hartley. It is my fault. I shouldn't have left you. I promise I'll never let you suffer like this again." Sophia Hartley was held tightly in his arms, but felt suffocated. She forced back her tears and pushed him away. "Keep driving. Anyway, they have no future." Chapter 4. After arriving home, Ethan Whitaker went to park the car first. Sophia Hartley came in and saw Chloe Reynolds sitting on the sofa watching television, dressed in her nightgown and holding snacks. She stopped in her tracks and deliberately said, "Didn't you say you were having a social gathering today and wouldn't be going home?" Chloe Reynolds smiled and feigned shyness, saying, "Oh, Hartley, I forgot to tell you. I actually had a fight with my boyfriend, so I went to the blind date to spite him." When I told him, he didn't care at all. But as soon as I arrived at the ball, he showed up and kidnapped me. As she spoke, she deliberately pulled down her collar to reveal the dense hickeys inside, and gave Sophia Hartley a provocative look. I really didn't expect him to be so jealous. He even made love to me 3 times in the car. As Sophia Hartley listened to her words, her nails dug deep into her palms, the pain spreading throughout her body. She took a deep breath. "When did you get a boyfriend? I've never heard you mention him before." Chloe Reynolds looked up and smiled, saying casually, "Just 3 months ago." Chloe Reynolds moved into the Whitaker family home exactly 3 months ago. At that time, she had just come to the city for work, and Ethan Whitaker's brother was worried about her and asked him to take care of his sister. It turns out that she had been sleeping with him on the very first day she moved in. Sophia Hartley's breathing became rapid, and just as she was about to speak, a pair of large hands suddenly gripped her shoulders from behind. Ethan Whitaker walked in and said gently, "Hartley, you've had a long day. I'll run you a bath. After you've washed up, you can get some rest, okay?" Sophia Hartley was thus pushed into the bathroom. She was about to take off her clothes to wash away her fatigue when she realized she had forgotten to bring a change of clothes. As soon as she opened the door, a jarring scene burst into her view. Not far away, Ethan Whitaker roughly and urgently pulled at Chloe Reynolds' nightgown while pressing her tightly onto the sofa. He wrapped his large hand around her waist, and his soft, fragmented kisses spread from her collarbone down to her waist. Chloe Reynolds, with her arm around his shoulder and head tilted back, panted softly. Be gentle. Hartley is still taking a shower. Didn't you have enough fun in the car today?" Ethan Whitaker took hold of her more forcefully, and the girl's breathing began to turn into a sob. "Shut up. You dare to try meeting other men next time." Chloe Reynolds smiled then, as if noticing something, she alluringly raised her eyes. She gave Sophia Hartley, who was frozen in the doorway, a defiant look. "Fine, I won't go. I am all yours, okay." The king of vinegar, Sophia Hartley couldn't stand it any longer, grabbed her change of clothes, and closed the bathroom door again. She submerged herself completely in the water, her mind filled with the scene that had just unfolded. 5 years ago, they went on their honeymoon to an island. He turned sour just because she glanced at the guy with abs on the beach. He pulled her back to the presidential suite and didn't let her leave for 7 whole days. 7 days later, the strawberry flavor ran out, and the bed collapsed. He held her protectively in his arms, his eyes reddening with humility. "Hartley, I have everything they have. Don't look at others, don't abandon me." She made promises for a long time before his jealousy subsided. From that day on, she never dared to look at other men again. No, he is just as crazy about Chloe Reynolds. Sophia Hartley popped her head out of the water and took a deep breath. When Ethan Whitaker came out of the bathroom, he was the only one left in the room. Besides the cut fruit, there was also a steaming cup of brown sugar water on the table in front of him. Seeing her come out, he quickly and ingratiatingly handed her the brown sugar water. "I calculated the days, and your period is due in a few days. I made some brown sugar water for you in advance. Drink a sip, and the pain will lessen." Sophia Hartley held the steaming cup of brown sugar water, but felt no warmth in her heart. She couldn't understand how his acting could be so good. He just got out of another woman's bed, and then immediately put on the act of a loving and devoted husband. This question weighed heavily on her mind, keeping her up mostly all night. Just as she was drifting off to sleep, Ethan Whitaker, who was sleeping soundly next to her, suddenly called out, "Hartley!" The next moment he was suddenly awakened and frantically groped around. Only after he felt her body did he quickly pull her into his arms. "Hartley, don't go." Sophia Hartley stiffened slightly. "What is wrong?" Ethan Whitaker's eyes reddened with fear. "I had a nightmare that you left me. Thankfully, it was just a dream. Thank goodness you are still here." Sophia Hartley lowered her eyes, wanting to tell him. She will be gone soon. Perhaps because of this dream, Ethan Whitaker insisted on taking Sophia Hartley to work with him the next day. Sophia Hartley refused, but he pleaded with her repeatedly, not wanting to waste any more time on this. Sophia Hartley had no choice but to go out with him. As soon as I entered Ethan Whitaker's office, I saw that his desk was covered with his own photos. Seeing her engrossed in looking at the photos, he hugged her from behind and nuzzled her neck affectionately. "Many women often try to get close to me, but after showing these photos, the effect has improved a lot. Don't worry, sweetheart, your husband is very chaste." Sophia Hartley looked down at him without saying a word. Just then, his assistant knocked on the door to remind him that the meeting had started. Ethan Whitaker hugged her a little longer before turning to get busy, leaving Sophia Hartley to wander around for a while. Sophia Hartley wasn't really interested in leaving, but she didn't want to stay in his office either. So she walked around all the floors, and around noon, she suddenly received a call from the immigration office. "Miss Hartley, the immigration procedures require your personal signature." Just as Sophia Hartley was about to speak, a familiar voice suddenly came from behind her. "What immigration?" Chapter 5. Sophia Hartley turned around abruptly and saw Ethan Whitaker standing behind her with a drastically changed expression. The moment she hung up the phone, he rushed over and grabbed her hand. "Hartley, who wants to immigrate?" Sophia Hartley remained expressionless. "She is a classmate of mine. She is planning to immigrate and wanted to get together with me before she leaves." Perhaps because her expression was too calm, Ethan Whitaker never considered the possibility that she was lying. But he still hugged her tightly and said fearfully, "I thought it was you. You scared me to death." Sophia Hartley twitched her lips. "It is just immigration. Why such a big reaction?" Ethan Whitaker's heart was pounding, and he explained helplessly, "Hartley, you know my family background. 3 generations of my family have served in the military, so I can't go abroad." He paused, seemingly still uneasy, and reminded me repeatedly, "If I do anything wrong, you can hit me, you can scold me, you can even kill me, but you can't immigrate abroad, because then I'll never be able to find you, and that would be worse than killing me." Sophia Hartley, who was held tightly in his arms, simply smiled and said, "I understand." Perhaps sensing something was amiss, Ethan Whitaker kept Sophia Hartley by his side for the next few days. Even if a brother opens a new club and invites people from the circle to get together, he wanted to take her with him too, with him keeping a close eye on things every day. Sophia Hartley, who didn't know how to get to the immigration office to sign anything, went with him. As soon as we entered the private room, a group of brothers immediately surrounded us. "Sister, in-law, you can have fun today without worry. We know you like quiet, so we changed the music to piano pieces and cleared the whole place." "That's right, sister. In-law, here are some desserts we prepared for you. Whitaker treated you. They're all your favorites." Come, sister. In-law, sit here. The fruit here has been washed and cut." Ethan Whitaker looked at them and couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. "When did you guys become so good at charming people?" "Who in the world doesn't know that, sister? In-law is Whitaker's darling. If he doesn't win her over, how can Whitaker maintain his relationship with us guys?" "That is right. Everyone knows that Whitaker has forgotten his brothers since he got married. We brothers are suffering, so we can only spoil his wife to the extreme with Whitaker." The room erupted in laughter, and just as the atmosphere was at its best, a petite figure suddenly walked in. "It is Chloe Reynolds." The manager quickly stepped forward to stop her. "I am sorry, miss. All our distinguished guests are here today, and we cannot receive other guests at this time." Chloe Reynolds pushed him aside and walked in without a second thought. "Hartley Whitaker. Oh, it is you who booked the whole place. What a coincidence. Would you mind if I joined you?" Without waiting for anyone's reply, she walked over and sat down next to Sophia Hartley. Then, in the dim light, she pulled Ethan Whitaker's hand under her skirt. Sophia Hartley trembled slightly and couldn't help but glance at Ethan Whitaker. She saw his expression change the moment Chloe Reynolds appeared, as if he wanted to drive her away. But the moment his hand was pulled under her skirt, he closed his eyes, his slender hand moving slightly. At that moment, Sophia Hartley felt like she couldn't breathe. She tried her best to control her emotions and pretended not to have noticed anything. Midway through the party, Sophia Hartley got up and went to the restroom. She washed her face with cold water again and again, trying to clear her head, until a provocative voice suddenly appeared beside her. "Hartley, I'm not trying to be mean, but you're still so young. You should dress up more and not always be so conservative." Sophia Hartley looked up and saw a hint of disdain in Chloe Reynolds' eyes in the mirror. "Look at me." She yanked open her coat, revealing fox patterned lingerie underneath. They all, truncated 21,360 characters, said they would take them to explore the capital city properly before returning to the countryside. Sophia Hartley prepared to go out for a stroll after her uncle and Aunt Hartley had taken a nap that day. As soon as I opened the door, I saw the butler and servants from the old villa standing at the entrance. When Sophia Hartley came out, her sisters, in-law, quickly surrounded her. "Miss Hartley, we heard you've returned to the country, so we thought we'd come and see you." I heard. Apart from Ethan Whitaker, very few people knew that Sophia Hartley had returned to the United States. She concealed the fleeting coldness in her eyes and invited them inside to sit down. The butler and several servants waved their hands repeatedly and stood at the door explaining their purpose. After Sophia Hartley left, the gifts she had given them were returned to Ethan Whitaker. A few days later, Ethan Whitaker bought them some more gifts. They said it was to thank them for taking care of Sophia Hartley over the years. After all, they had received a gift from Ethan Whitaker, so they still felt they should express their gratitude. So, I thought I'd try to persuade her, since we were husband and wife after all. Ethan Whitaker now deeply understands his mistakes. Hopefully, Sophia Hartley will also give Ethan Whitaker a chance to make amends. These days, they couldn't bear to see Ethan Whitaker looking so dejected. Sophia Hartley found it all ridiculous, and Ethan Whitaker, seeing that he couldn't do anything about it, got others to persuade her. She understood that they meant well, so she just smiled and didn't say anything. Seeing this, the butler and several servants didn't say anything more, chatted with Sophia Hartley for a few words, and then left. After Ethan Whitaker's actions, Sophia Hartley lost her desire to go out. So she closed the door and went back to her room to take a nap. Sophia Hartley slept very restlessly that night. She didn't dream about Ethan Whitaker even once during the 3 months she was abroad. But today she dreamed of him again. And the scene was actually at their wedding. Chapter 20. In his dream, Ethan Whitaker knelt on one knee. He held the wedding ring he had carved himself in his hand, gazing affectionately at the girl in the white dress before him. "Hartley, will you marry me? I will spend the rest of my life faithfully loving you and accompanying you. I will never betray you." Finally, the girl in front of him moved, revealing her delicate and unfamiliar face. That wasn't her, it was Chloe Reynolds. But Ethan Whitaker seemed not to recognize Chloe Reynolds and continued to stare at her intently. Just as Chloe Reynolds was about to speak, Sophia Hartley suddenly woke up from her dream. She stared blankly out the window, feeling that it was a very strange dream. Knock, knock. "Hartley, are you awake?" Aunt Hartley's voice suddenly rang out from outside the door, and Sophia Hartley patted her face and quickly responded. "Get up, Auntie." Aunt Hartley then pushed open the door and handed her the invitation, saying it was sent by her friend. Sophia Hartley then remembered that she had met an old friend when she first returned to the country and chatted with him for a few minutes. When they parted, her friend asked for her address, saying he would send her his wedding invitation in a few days. Sophia Hartley thanked her and accepted the letter. Upon opening it, she found it was indeed a wedding invitation from a close friend. After all, they were friends for many years. Sophia Hartley got up early the next day to go to the mall to buy a gift for her friend. As soon as they got to the second floor, they saw a large group of people suddenly walking towards them from the opposite side. As she walked toward Sophia Hartley, she made way for pedestrians. She quickly ducked into a nearby shop to let the group of people pass by. As the group of people passed by her, she seemed to sense something and suddenly glanced at them. The next moment, her eyes widened suddenly. Is that Chloe Reynolds? If Chloe Reynolds used to be like a vibrant, beautiful flower, now she is like an old woman in her twilight years. She is so thin she is practically skin and bones, yet she is carrying a huge belly. He looked lifeless. Not only was Sophia Hartley shocked by Chloe Reynolds' current appearance, but even passers-by around her couldn't help but whisper among themselves. Is that Chloe Reynolds? I am not seeing things, am I? What happened to her? Is the Whitaker family not feeding her? The people next to him sneered, who said they wouldn't give it to her. I heard from my sister who works at Whitaker's house that Whitaker's family now practically feeds her every meal. It is a pity that she did so many bad things and had no good fortune at all. She vomited everything she ate. In addition, after Ethan Whitaker found out she was pregnant again, he tried to make things difficult for her every day. If Whitaker's mother hadn't been watching over her, the baby would have been gone long ago. Now that they see how much she has done wrong, the Whitaker family has finally let her out to relax. Sophia Hartley concealed the complex emotions in her eyes and walked towards another store. Everyone thought that Chloe Reynolds would live a good life after being taken out of prison by the Whitaker family, but it seems that is not the case now. Even when they go out for a walk, they need to be watched 24 hours a day, as if they're just out for some fresh air. Unfortunately, she has no pity for Chloe Reynolds. All of this is now Chloe Reynolds' own doing. Sophia Hartley stopped thinking about it and focused on choosing a gift. My friend's wedding day is now decorated with an exceptionally warm and cozy atmosphere. Sophia Hartley watched the newlyweds kissing through tears, her own eyes still slightly reddening. I sincerely hope my friends will be excited. Just then, a large hand handed her a handkerchief, and she looked in the direction of that hand. I spotted Ethan Whitaker right away. The next second, the smile on her lips vanished instantly. The ceremony had just ended, and Sophia Hartley hadn't even had a meal yet. After asking someone next to him to tell his friend, he got up and walked towards the door. She finally remembered that today's bride was not only her good friend, but also Ethan Whitaker's college classmate. Seeing her leave, Ethan Whitaker got up and chased after her without thinking. "Hartley." Ethan Whitaker grabbed Sophia Hartley's hand and cornered her against the wall. Hartley, I can answer your question from last time now. At the time, I only wanted to spare you the pain of childbirth, so I had Chloe Reynolds give birth for us. I am good to her only because I am afraid something will happen to her child. Since you don't like Chloe Reynolds and you don't like this child, how about I get rid of them both? Chapter 20. After saying a lot of things, he looked at her expectantly. It was as if he could get rid of Chloe Reynolds and her unborn child the moment she nodded. Sophia Hartley looked at the person in front of her, a hint of disappointment in her eyes. He said so much, but he blamed her entirely for his infidelity. Or perhaps she chose Chloe Reynolds to have a child because she felt sorry for her during childbirth. He still believes that she left him because of Chloe Reynolds. Seeing that she didn't answer, he assumed she had agreed. The thought that Sophia Hartley could return to him once he got rid of Chloe Reynolds and her unborn child filled him with joy. He grew increasingly excited, even to the point of wanting to kiss her without restraint. Smack. Before he could even kiss her, Sophia Hartley's hand landed on his face first. Ethan Whitaker, are you insane? Sophia Hartley only discovered this at that moment. Ethan Whitaker never considered that he himself was responsible for the failed marriage. He even naively thought that as long as the problem was solved, she could come back to him. But the biggest problem clearly lies with him. The thought that the Ethan Whitaker of the past was now going to harm 2 lives filled her with disappointment. How did you end up like this? Why don't you consider whether it is your own problem? Ethan Whitaker covered his face, which had been hit to the side, and stared blankly for a while before smiling bitterly. Yes, I am insane. Every day since you left, I've been having nightmares. In my dreams, you always leave me in different ways. You don't want me anymore. I am being driven crazy by these nightmares. I'll try anything to win you back. After saying that, he stopped looking at her, turned around, and disappeared into the heavy rain. Ethan Whitaker. No matter how much Sophia Hartley shouted, he did not stop, madman. But before Ethan Whitaker could even make a move, Chloe Reynolds went into premature labor again. The baby was placed in an incubator immediately after birth, but the child died less than 3 days later. When Whitaker's mother, who brought Chloe Reynolds to the hospital, looked at her dying child, a trace of regret flashed in her eyes. He really is an unlucky person, seeing that Chloe Reynolds was no longer useful. Whitaker's mother withdrew everyone who had been taking care of Chloe Reynolds. He left only the message, take the money and get as far away as you can. Soon the ward was empty. Chloe Reynolds, clutching her bank card, finally couldn't help but sob. That is all. All gone. The Reynolds family didn't want her, and neither did Ethan Whitaker. Even the child she struggled to give birth to for 3 days and 3 nights didn't want her anymore. She broke down in tears, but no one came to comfort her or show her any pity. When the nurses passing by heard Chloe Reynolds' pitiful and desperate cries, they simply rolled their eyes silently. But before the nurse could finish rolling her eyes, a tall figure suddenly appeared in front of her. The nurse was so frightened that she quickly bowed and left. Hello, Mr. Whitaker. Ethan Whitaker ignored the nurse and stood directly in front of Chloe Reynolds' room. He waited until the crying inside gradually subsided before pushing open the door and going in. Same room, same 2 people. Chloe Reynolds looked at him, her eyes widening in surprise before turning to hatred. Ethan Whitaker, are you satisfied now? I've become like this because of you. I have nothing left now. Looking at Chloe Reynolds' ferocious face, Ethan Whitaker sneered. Satisfy? I still think it is too light. The thought of him being completely manipulated by such a woman, causing Sophia Hartley to leave him, is unbearable. A surge of anger suddenly welled up inside him. He strode forward, grabbed her chin, and spoke in a voice as cold as winter. You should be glad your child didn't survive. Otherwise, you should leave with it. Chapter 20. Chloe Reynolds' eyes were filled with hatred, which was overwhelmed by fear. During her time at the Whitaker's house while pregnant, she became acutely aware of Ethan Whitaker's methods. Even though Whitaker's mother had people watching her 24/7, Ethan Whitaker's men still managed to find loopholes to frame her. If she hadn't been lucky, she probably would have died quietly long ago. Ethan Whitaker's eyes darkened as he felt the person in his hand trembling. Chloe Reynolds wouldn't be alive today if Sophia Hartley hadn't disliked his mistakes. Fortunately, she lost the baby, which saved him one less problem. Ethan Whitaker dismissively threw her aside and casually wiped his hands with a handkerchief. Get as far away from me as possible from now on. If I ever see you again, you won't end up like this. After leaving a warning, Ethan Whitaker slammed the hospital room door shut. That harsh warning sent a chill down Chloe Reynolds' spine. She gradually tightened her grip on the blanket in her hands. On the other side of Beijing, Sophia Hartley reluctantly saw her uncle and aunt off on their special car back home. Thinking of this, she quickened her pace to go home. She thought that since it was still early, she should go to her neighbor and return the rented courtyard house. What, you mean someone has already bought this house and given it to me? Sophia Hartley's eyes widened instantly after hearing what her neighbor said. The old man lay in a rocking chair, fanning himself with a palm leaf fan, and handed her the documents for buying a house. Look, your name is on this. Sophia Hartley took the document with suspicion and saw her own name prominently displayed in the corner. She frowned as she looked at the familiar handwriting. Just as she was about to say something, she saw the old man pointing to the door with a palm leaf fan. Look, that is the person who bought you the house. She looked up and saw a figure standing against the light at the doorway, looking at her with the same tenderness as back then. Hartley, Ethan Whitaker, what do you mean by this? Sophia Hartley thanked the old man and pulled Ethan Whitaker outside. I don't need you to do that at all. A flicker of pain crossed Ethan Whitaker's eyes. He tried to hug her, but she broke free. Hartley, that's my compensation to you. I've resolved the biggest problem between us. Chloe Reynolds lost her child, and she will never bother us again. So could you give me another chance? Sophia Hartley shook her head. Chance. Ethan Whitaker, I did consider giving you a chance. Ethan Whitaker's eyes lit up but dimmed again after she uttered her next sentence. If you had gone into the master bedroom that day, or if you had confessed everything to me the next day, we might still have a chance. But how did you do it? He held Chloe Reynolds in every corner of the house, even making love wildly right next to her. That day, when you and she were on the rooftop, I found out that your brothers also knew about your affair. She put her cold hands into her pockets and sighed softly. At that moment, I wondered if I was the only fool in the world. Ethan Whitaker tightened his grip on his side, and then heard her continue speaking. So much so that everyone was willing to help you keep it from me. Sophia Hartley smiled. So, as punishment for you, I specifically took all the shares under your name on your birthday party. I don't need this courtyard house at all right now. It wouldn't do me any good if you bought it for me. As she was about to leave, she was suddenly embraced tightly by a warm hug. She looked down at the hands wrapped around her waist and was about to pull them down when the person behind him spoke, trembling. Hartley, I am sorry. Sophia Hartley's words finally woke him up, and he finally faced the mistakes he had made. Since he was wrong, he apologized and made amends to Sophia Hartley. He hoped that Sophia Hartley would forgive him and come back to him. But his apology came too late for Sophia Hartley. His apology could have been given the day after he had his relationship with Chloe Reynolds. Or perhaps it was said while she still harbored illusions about him. But he couldn't say it after she had completely given up on him. Chapter 23. Sophia Hartley remained silent for a long time before pulling away from his hand and leaving. Hartley. He painfully stopped her and asked her why she wouldn't give him a chance. From the first day he saw Sophia Hartley again, he had been trying to win her back. No matter how he explained or what he did, she remained unmoved. You loved me so much before. Why can't you give me another chance? If you're only bothered by the fact that Chloe Reynolds lived here, then I'll sell the house. If you find the gifts I gave you before annoying, I'll buy you new ones. If you think I am dirty, I'll take a few more showers. What if it is your heart? Sophia Hartley suddenly spoke up, but found that he couldn't answer for a long time. She smiled, looked at him again, and left him alone on the spot. The next day, Sophia Hartley began packing her bags and preparing to return to the United States. She originally planned to bring Hartley's uncle and aunt to the United States together. But Uncle Hartley and Aunt Hartley had spent their entire lives in the countryside and couldn't bear to leave this land. Seeing this, Sophia Hartley said nothing more. But when she left, she secretly slipped a bank card under Hartley's pillow when his uncle and aunt weren't looking. Secondly, she met up with her friends in China for dinner. During the meal, the friend was overcome with sadness at the thought that she was leaving again. Now that you are gone, I don't know when we'll be able to meet again. We'll come to America to visit you when we have the chance in the future." Sophia Hartley nodded, and then exchanged addresses with her friends so they could visit her in the US in the future. As everyone drank one glass of wine after another, Sophia Hartley chatted with them. After Sophia Hartley finished the last sip of tea in her cup, she called the waiter to bring her more. Just then, a friend who was quite drunk waved his hand and said he would go and serve her tea. Everyone hurriedly urged him to sit down, but he wouldn't listen and picked up the teapot to walk out of the private room. Soon after, a loud argument was heard outside. The people in the private room exchanged glances and rushed out. I saw my friend from earlier shoving and pushing several drunk people across the street. Sophia Hartley's heart tightened, and she and her friend immediately went to intervene and break up the fight. Just then, the person opposite her suddenly picked up a wine bottle from somewhere and smashed it over her head. "Hartley." A panicked voice suddenly rang out from above Sophia Hartley's head. The next second, she was caught in Ethan Whitaker's arms. Bang! The bottle shattered instantly, and shards fell to the ground along with the bloodstains on his head. The entire restaurant fell silent instantly. Murder! The screams and shouts created a chaotic mess. Ethan Whitaker didn't care about anything else. He just frantically checked Sophia Hartley from head to toe. He was relieved to know she was all right. Sophia Hartley coldly observed his anxious expression and said, "Ethan Whitaker, you don't need to block for me. I will dodge." During the 6 months she spent abroad, she specifically learned martial arts to protect herself. If it weren't for him, she would have already knocked that person to the ground. Ethan Whitaker's hand, which was gripping her shoulder, slipped away instantly. She was telling him that she could live a good life even without him, unlike him, who went crazy without her, spending his days drinking at home. Just as he was about to say something, the restaurant manager, having heard the news, rushed over with a group of people. While, having Ethan Whitaker's wound treated, the manager was busy dealing with the chaos at the scene. Chapter 20. But Ethan Whitaker stood motionless, even reaching out to pull Sophia Hartley's hand. Sophia Hartley pushed his hand away and immediately went with some friends to take the drunk man to the hospital. But a friend directly declined her offer, saying that the meal was originally intended as a farewell dinner. "But I never expected it to turn out like this." They felt so guilty. How could they possibly trouble her again? As she spoke, her friend nudged her and told her to go back and pack her bags. Sophia Hartley didn't know what else to say, so she turned and walked outside. "Hartley." Ethan Whitaker had been watching her the whole time when he heard her friend tell her to go home and pack her bags. Suddenly, I felt a pang of panic and grabbed her hand. "Hartley, where are you going again with your packed luggage?" After the blood on Ethan Whitaker's forehead was cleaned up, only a gruesome wound remained. Add to that the pair of panicked eyes beneath the wound. It made him look both pathetic and ridiculous. Sophia Hartley didn't answer. She just tried to pull her hand away from his grasp. But no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't break free from him. Instead, he pulled her into his arms. "Tell me, where are you going?" Ethan Whitaker's voice trembled, but Sophia Hartley remained cold and aloof. "Hartley." Sophia Hartley finally looked up at the person in front of her and said indifferently, "Where I go is none of your business." While Ethan Whitaker was still in a daze, she shook off his hand and walked towards the door. "Hartley." Just as Ethan Whitaker was about to give chase, a huge impact slammed into him. Bang! Sophia Hartley turned around abruptly, staring in horror at the scene before her. After Ethan Whitaker was in a car accident that left him with a disability in both legs, he became listless and lethargic. He spends all his time holding his wedding photo with Sophia Hartley and constantly calling her name. People couldn't bear to see her suffer, and they all rushed over to persuade Sophia Hartley. After all, we were husband and wife. I should at least go and see him. But Sophia Hartley always resolutely refused. What is there to see? Her relationship with Ethan Whitaker had long since ended. In the end, everyone could only sigh and leave. That day, Sophia Hartley once again saw off someone who came to persuade her to visit Ethan Whitaker in the hospital. Just as she was about to close the door, a middle-aged woman's voice suddenly rang out from afar. "Wait a moment." Sophia Hartley looked up and saw Whitaker's mother standing in front of her, her eyes filled with the marks of time. Sophia Hartley handed a cup of hot tea to Whitaker's mother. Whitaker's mother thanked her and accepted the tea, then took a sip before explaining her purpose. I still hope Sophia Hartley can go to the hospital to see Ethan Whitaker. Seeing the pleading look in Whitaker's mother's eyes, Sophia Hartley was momentarily stunned. From the very first day of her marriage, Whitaker's mother disliked her intensely. No matter what she did, Whitaker's mother would always find fault and look at her with an icy gaze. This was the first time she had ever seen that look in Whitaker's mother's eyes. Sophia Hartley tightened her grip on the teacup and still managed to say sorry. Our marital relationship has come to an end. The biggest concession I can make is that I no longer hate him. Whitaker's mother seemed to age a year after hearing her refusal. But when she thought of her son in a wheelchair, Whitaker's mother still wanted to try. But you two were married for 5 years after all. He loved you so much and did so many dangerous things for you. You Chapter 25, Sophia Hartley chuckled softly. What good is it if he still loves me? He still cheated on me. Not only did he keep it from me, but his group of brothers also kept it from me, and perhaps you are keeping it from me as well. The incident of Chloe Reynolds fainting at Sophia Hartley's birthday party due to her pregnancy caused quite a stir. She refused to believe that Whitaker's mother didn't know. As expected, Whitaker's expression stiffened. Ever since Ethan Whitaker and Sophia Hartley got married, Whitaker's mother has been urging them to have children as soon as possible. One of them couldn't have children due to health issues, while the other didn't want to have children because he felt sorry for his wife. Whitaker's mother was so angry that she felt extremely uncomfortable every time she saw Sophia Hartley, and naturally she wouldn't give her a kind look. So when Whitaker learned that Chloe Reynolds was pregnant, she had already thrown all rules and regulations to the wind. They also forgot that cheating on someone in the Whitaker household is an extremely shameful thing. Even though Whitaker's father would give Whitaker's mother the cold shoulder every day because of this. Even though Sophia Hartley was secretly heartbroken over this every day. Whitaker's mother didn't care at all. After all, nothing is more important than having a grandson. A hint of sarcasm flashed in Sophia Hartley's eyes when she saw Whitaker's mother's reaction. Therefore, she even supported her son's infidelity. Why bother trying to persuade someone who is extremely disappointed and disillusioned with Ethan Whitaker? Mrs. Whitaker, I hope you can tell him when you get back. He is not only torturing himself, but also torturing me. Is he still not satisfied with the harm he caused me before, and he has to drive me to my death? After saying that, she stopped looking at Whitaker's mother's reaction and gestured for her to leave. Whitaker's mother could only get up and leave. Hospital, seeing that there was no one behind Whitaker's mother, the last glimmer of light in Ethan Whitaker's eyes was completely extinguished. He didn't say anything, just waved for Whitaker's mother to leave. He picked up the wedding photo, tears of regret falling onto Sophia Hartley's smiling face. In fact, he knew from the beginning that if he didn't want to, Chloe Reynolds never even had a chance to get into his bed, but he kept convincing himself that he was doing this only because he couldn't bear to let Sophia Hartley have a child. But his heart fell in love with Chloe Reynolds through his repeated affairs. How ridiculous. That man who solemnly swore an oath to Sophia Hartley at their wedding. He said he would be loyal to her, love her, accompany her for the rest of his life, and never betray her. A person who says that if they fall in love with someone else, they will be struck by lightning. The man who said he only wanted Sophia Hartley as his woman. In the end, he still cheated. He put down the photo, his lifeless eyes flickered, and finally landed on the fruit knife beside him. That day, Sophia Hartley asked him what to do if he had a heart attack. Now he can finally answer her. That is to kill it. Simone's dead. The nurses who were checking on patients at night screamed in terror after seeing a bloody scene in the ward. Upon hearing the nurses scream, Whitaker's mother, who was walking from a distance, suddenly dropped the thermos she was carrying. She frantically pushed aside the nurse who was standing stiffly at the door. Upon seeing the scene in the ward, his legs went weak, and he instantly knelt on the ground. In the ward, Ethan Whitaker lay in bed as usual. A fruit knife was stuck deep in his heart. Upon learning of Ethan Whitaker's death, Sophia Hartley stood there in a daze for a long time, until a tear slid down her cheek. She finally came to her senses and reached out to wipe away the tear. She didn't say anything. She just picked up her suitcase and walked towards the door. After boarding the plane, Sophia Hartley turned back and looked out the window one last time. The capital city, she will never come back in her lifetime.